Hello and welcome to Finish Strong 2017. I hope that you are as excited as I am, and I will be doing this alongside you so we can all finish strong by the end of the year. So I just want to give you a huge welcome and say how delighted I am that everybody is here. It's only a small group, and that's fine because this is the first time that I've done the Finish Strong in this format. Last year I did it as a 30-day exercise, and the feedback was the content was great, but it was just a bit too intense for 30 days. So that's when I thought, okay, well, you know what, maybe we'll do it for 4 weeks in November, stop us from being distracted by Christmas, and then stop us being distracted by Christmas, and then we can still celebrate Christmas at the same time. So this is a beta test, so your feedback is completely and utterly welcome. I know that we've messed up with the first week, and that was all down to me being away running around New York, a lot of it. So my apologies about that, but we will get back on track. I'm recording this on Zoom. I know we said we're going to do it live, and we will do it live. We'll be back to normal for next Thursday. I'm recording this on Zoom, so check it out. That is my number there. So there's that URL. So click on that one, and it's on the email that I sent around as well. Or if you want to go into Zoom, I think .us, and then you can enter the meeting ID. And it's there. You might just want to check it out first. I'm on a Linux-based machine, so I had to download a piece of, just a little piece of software and have to open up something. But when I've downloaded it onto my iPhone and my iPad, it has worked, no problem. And I've never had anybody who's had an issue with it. I use it generally for copy critiques, one-to-one coaching when we're not when I'm not close to people. So Zoom is great. It really rocks. So hopefully you will like it as much as I do. I just want to say as well that I am always going to be here for you in the program and even after the program. So please don't think that any question is odd or inconsequential. You did sign up for this, and so I'm here to support you. So at the moment, if you read anything about marketing, which I suppose I do all the time, a lot of times it's all about an experience-ifying marketing and experience-ifying your service. That's pretty big at the moment, that whole theme. So I want you to know that this is an experience. We are working together, and the key word is together. So I'm pretty much getting you to do a lot of the work, but I don't want you to do it alone either. So just reach out. So I'm going to be on Zoom, I'm going to be on the Facebook group, and I'm going to be on email. And then I think most of you have my number for text message. So just if there's anything unclear, or you just have just a question going, I'm not really sure about that, or things like that, just give me a shout. And then I suppose as it's a beta, and that's probably why it's so reasonable, and I threw in that bonus as well, the mini Clients for Life session. So it's a beta, and so therefore if, and you will, so there should be no if, I really would appreciate a testimonial at the end of it. That would be marvelous. So I'm going to put that at the very beginning, stated up at the very beginning. And I think it's important that that's what you do when you do that with your marketing statement, what you want from the beginning. So I would really appreciate a testimonial at the end. And then the calendar it's going to be the next 4 weeks over November. And what we will do is we will cover 4 things. So we're going to cover low-hanging fruit. And it's not that it's low-hanging fruit. It's stuff that you can do straight away in this next week, or even in the next couple of days, that you can get started and start making real momentum. Week 2, we're going to talk about marketing communications, and I think by then we'll have scheduled everybody's meeting to see what your own particular needs are, so I can tailor that session to you guys. But I just want to say, in terms of marketing communications, it's so important that I'm really actually excited about the marketing communications one. We're going to look at all the different elements of marketing. To just give you an example, I got an email from a person that had wanted to work with me, and then she said, you know what, not this time. And I said, fine. And she's, because I've got I've got a PR company early in the new year, and then I have somebody else doing something else for me. social media. So I thought, okay, great. Well, that's wonderful that you've got elements of your marketing plan sorted, but really you need to have like, a cohesive plan, and you need to be using all the channels that you can. So while elements are important, that's like, like saying that's just really ad hoc, and you'll never get the results that you want when you just do like one or two pieces. So what I want to do in week 2 is that we will talk about marketing communications as a whole and see how you can start putting everything together. So I'm excited for that one. And then in week 3, we'll talk about content and copy. And could there be a training course without talking about content and copy? And my answer to that was always going to be no. I have studied, I don't know how much money I've invested in studying and learning about copywriting and the art and science of copy. So we will certainly be going delving deep into that. And I think we'll just might focus on 1 or 2 areas, but for sure we're going to be talking about that, because you know what, words are everywhere, and it's really words that sell. Pictures tell, but words sell. Whether it's like, when you walk into a networking situation, whether you do a video script, whether you do a Facebook post, whether you do a blog, whether you do training, whether you do a face-to-face sales call, it's all about the words. And sometimes we kind of forget that. And all of us can write and all of us can speak, but I actually like to say that I help you strengthen your strengths. So we'll work on that in week 3. So I'm excited about that. And then week 4, you couldn't really have like a finishing strong training program focusing on finishing out the year without thinking about starting the next year. So we will think about planning. So I've got templates and I've got spreadsheets for content planning and 30-day planning. So I better not give too much away, but we will be looking at planning ahead, so that when you wake up and you stretch and you go, oh, happy new year, and you go into the office on the 1st of January, the 3rd of January, that you literally have a schedule that you are ready to rock and roll with, that you're not waiting another week to get like yourself back into it. You will be able to rock and roll on that first day with your marketing. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. And I already said this in the email, but put it in your calendar. I'd like to offer you a bonus week on the 7th of December. Well, because of the palaver here and your patience for being so patient for me, like, starting, I have to say I was a bit overwhelmed at the beginning of the month with the training in LA, working in LA, and then the marathon. So I thought, you know what, how can I actually do something for you guys? And I thought we'll do a bonus week. And I haven't decided what that is yet. So don't be worrying about that just yet. As we go along and I listen to your feedback and I listen to what you might have issues with, we could talk about that. I might actually just do it like as a sales training perhaps. But we'll see when we delve deeper into the training. So, but just put it in your calendar for the 7th of December. And I'm looking forward to that one. Now, before we get going, I want you to take some time and write down what your goals are. What are you aiming to achieve over the next 5 weeks? Because if you don't know where you're going, then you're never really going to get there. Or if you don't write down, say, 3 things that you'd like to do, say it's like, I want to get clearer on my message, or I want to write a web page, or I want to have a plan for next year, or I want to not get distracted, by the end of the year. So I want you to write down 3 things that you would like to achieve by the end of the 5 weeks, because that way then we'll know by the end of the 4 or 5 weeks whether you've achieved that or not. So I have an accompanying worksheet that's up on the website. And what I have done is that there's certain things that we'll rate. So not to give a lot of things away, but we'll kind of rate what your interactions are with your clients. So maybe you can rate that on a scale of 0 to 10. Maybe you're at a 5 today, and then hopefully by 4 or 5 weeks time, you might be at a 7. So so it's only that way, and it could maybe gone backwards, could go for 3, which would be a bit disappointing. But I want you to think about where you are now and where you'd like to be. I want you to plan it out, and I want you to write it down, and I want you to refer to it often over the next 5 weeks. I have to say that I have done a lot of training courses, and I've invested in a lot of training programs over the years. And my biggest problem has always been implementation. And you know what? For a long time, I didn't even admit that to myself. but it's so true, like that I've done a lot of training, done a lot of reading, done a lot of like learning, which I'm really good at, but I haven't necessarily put a lot of it into implementation. So it's really only over the last maybe 3 years that I've kind of said, okay, Denise, why are you spending all that money and not doing anything about it? So that's why I don't want you to do that. So I want you to, will you write down what it is that you want, and will you write down what you want, and that way then you'll get to see how you're progressing. Does that make sense? Okay, great. You know what I'm going to do, and even though this is a recording, I'm going to take 2 minutes. I'm going to stop. I'm going to pause, and I'm going to get you to write down what 3 things that you'd like to achieve by the end of the 5 weeks. And I want you to be able to tell me what they are, whether it's through a text message, whether it's through email, whether it's through the Facebook group, whether it's when we have our conversations. I want you to tell me what they are so that we know exactly what they are. Okay, so I'm taking 2 minutes. I'm going to set the timer. I'm going to set 2 minutes so that you can jot down at least three things what you want to achieve over the next little while. Okay, have you got them all written down? Do you need more time? Look, don't worry if you didn't write down 3 things right now. I do want you to write them down, but don't worry if you're not. By the end of the session, hopefully then you will actually be able to write down, say, 3 things. Okay, so let's move on. You know what? I just wanted to put down some expectations. So every week I'll give you training, and every week I'll do the office hours. Every week I'll be on the email, and I'll be on the Facebook page. So I really would like you to show up. Now, you don't have to show up to the Zoom. Like if at 1 o'clock it doesn't suit you, or 2 o'clock it doesn't suit you, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so even if I'm talking to myself or just one other person, I'm perfectly okay with that. Because we'll all be recorded. But my main thing for you would be, when I say please show up, would be that you do the work. It is only 4 weeks. Well, obviously we've got the bonus for 5, but it's only like 4 weeks. And I know that the reason why you signed up is that you wanted to finish strong, that you wanted to finish this year as good as it can be. So make sure that you do show up and listen to the recording, ask the questions. If there's anything that you need. If there's anything that you need, any issues with or anything like that, please just, ask me. So just don't be a stranger. So I guess that's really what I wanted to say on this slide. Now, what I want to talk to you about, and this is really the key for anybody who has seen any of my work. This is a little triangle that I want to start talking about. Right, I wanted to talk about your market, your message, and your media, because this is really what marketing is all about. Now, you will listen. We can talk about marketing, and there's many, many, many definitions. There's many, many definitions of marketing. So this is one of my how can I explain? Say one of my favorite ways. I have been doing marketing 20 years, and I've even taught marketing for about 3 or 4 years. And so I still say that marketing is all about identifying and satisfying customers' needs at a profit. Ultimately, that's what marketing is about. But when you get down into marketing, there's 4 things really that you kind of need to look at. You need to look at your market, you need to look at your media, and you need to look at your message. And if those 3 are not aligned, then you're not, your marketing is never going to work. And obviously I need to create a new diagram myself, but overarching all of those is the language of the customers that you use and the words that you use, because words are so important. they can make or break a sale. But if you you could actually be working toward the wrong market, but actually have the right message, but then that's not going to work. Or you could be targeting the right market with the wrong message, and of course that's not going to work. And maybe you've got your market all correct and you've got your message all correct, but because everybody tells you you should be on social media, that's where you are, but that's not necessarily where your target market is. So then you've got an issue. So that's not going to work. So over the next 4 weeks, and in particular when we have our individual Clients for Life session, I'll be going into them individually because it's so important that you have everything right. So for your market, when I talk about that, I talk about having a niche, I suppose, as well, but also knowing exactly who your target is. Some people call it a persona, some people call it a profile. And if you can get as detailed into it as possible, then you are doing great. But initially you need to have a target market. Like I started off targeting pretty much anybody and everybody. And you know what, when you target anybody and everybody, you don't really target anybody at all. And so then it's only as the years progressed and I kind of got more into, okay, well, who is it that I'm marketing for, that I realized that I'm actually marketing to professional services. So I did do like some B2C marketing, and I still kind of do some B2C marketing, but my main focus and my main target market is B2B, and it's like, professional services, those people selling a professional service. It works for me, it works for them, it's perfect. So you need to kind of think about who your target market is. And I know for some of you, you have it down pat. We kind of probably need to delve a little bit deeper when we go into the individual sections, but I want to talk about that. So your message is, well, what is it that you're selling and what is it that people are buying? So there's two differences, like they're kind of like a nuanced difference, but we will talk about that. But I always say a confused mind never buys. So if your message is not right and it's anyway confusing, then people won't buy. Like if your parents or your sisters or your hairdresser doesn't know exactly what it is that you do, then you need to kind of clarify what it is, because you need people like your family or your hairdresser or your butcher to be able to say, oh right, is that exactly what you do? Didn't realize that. So that's exactly what I want for you from all of the next 5 weeks. And then the media is really like, what we will spend week 2 talking about in terms of marketing communications. So it's the media. And like that is it's the funniest thing because a lot of people, and particularly even in my earlier days when I set up Achieve Marketing back in 2006, a lot of people come to me and they'd say, I think we need to do, let's do an advertising campaign, or let's do a internet marketing campaign, or let's do a campaign. And I'd say, yeah, sure, that's no problem. And I'd say, well, we really need to kind of know, dig deep a little bit into more of the strategy. No, we really need to work on the communications. And you know what? You will never get the result that you want when you just focus on the message, or the media, I should say, the media, because that's just a channel. It's just a channel to get the message out to the right people. So you need to kind of focus on the right people and the right message and just use media as a channel. And so a lot of people don't approach it that way. So hopefully you guys will be ahead of your competition because you'll be focusing on marketing in a different way, that you won't just be jumping on social media or just jumping on Facebook Lives or video marketing simply because it's something that everybody does. So that's marketing momentum. So my aim for you guys is that I want you to be the choice, not a choice in your market. And it is possible. You just have to look around. Like people buy, like I was just driving down the road and I saw Audis, I saw Fords, I saw Range Rovers, I saw BMWs, I saw Lexus, and actually in the car park earlier on today I saw a Bugatti, and those very fancy cars. So if you think that you cannot be a choice in your market, if you want to be a choice in your market, think about why people choose the Mercedes over the Skodas, because both of them get you from A to B. That's exactly what they want you to do. You get in the car and then you go from A to B. That's what Mercedes does, and that's what Skoda does. And so, but there's different markets. So you should really be aiming at the Mercedes end, because it's so much easier to market at the Mercedes end than it is the Skoda end. And that's not saying anything wrong with Skoda's, just different market. Now, I wanted to say that as we're staying with this marketing momentum, what I wanted to talk about was 4 marketing truths. Marketing truth number 1, you are a marketing person. Now, marketing number 2, you are not a doer of your trade. So obviously you are a doer of your trade, right? But what I want you to think about from now on in is that everything that you do, it's all about marketing. So it's like who you talk to in the butchers and the hairdressers. I've mentioned them twice. I won't mention them again. So you need to be like, constantly talking, constantly thinking about your business and the marketing of it. So while you can say that you're an accountant, that is great, or you are a financial controller or an accountant, or I said that twice, didn't I? Or a solicitor, or whatever it is that you say that you're also a marketing person. So 50% of your activities, I remember saying that to somebody, that 50% of your activities should be marketing based. And while that seems like a lot, when you break it down, and we'll talk about timesheets when we go to the planning section side of things, I have a formula for you to see exactly how much time you should be spending on marketing. But you are a marketing person from now on. You are, like me, a marketing person. Marketing truth number 3, it's not about you. And so that's the thing I found since working with professional services. And I've worked with them, obviously, like the last 4 years, I think, more or less exclusively. And a lot of people say, oh God, I couldn't say that, Denise. Oh Jesus, you couldn't be putting yourself out there now and saying that, or can't be doing that. No, geez, no, gosh, no. And the truth of the matter is, which is marketing number 4, it's all about your customers and your clients. It's not about you. So you saying that you're an expert in probate, or that you've got the best probate lawyer in the county, that is not a bad thing to say, because it's not about you. It's about the customers. It's about your clients. It's about people who want to have, a good probate lawyer on their side. And so you have to think about it. So I think as a professional service, because we spend so long, investing in ourselves, to be masters of our trade, that you kind of think that it's personal. And if somebody says something about you or to you, then it's all about you. But actually what you're doing is it's about your customers. And so you are of service to your customers or your clients. Like I reached out to a few people for the Finish Strong. Okay, would the money have been nice? Yes. But this is a beta program. So it would have been a really great chance to work with people, but only because I know this program would have been of service to them. And so I didn't feel, for the first time probably in a long time, I didn't feel, oh my God, I couldn't really say that. So I market to my own market. But I reached out and I said, listen, this would be really good for you to finish strong. You need to focus. You keep talking about doing stuff, but you're not doing it. And so I reached out, and I actually thought it was probably for the first time, it was like, you know what, it's all about them and it's less about me. And so I think once you kind of step into that and start realizing that that's what you're here for, to make somebody else's life a little bit better, then I think then marketing becomes an awful lot more easier. So we can talk about that again if you need to. But that's the 4 marketing truths and the marketing mindset that I wanted to talk to you about before we kind of get into the main training of this one, which is 7 immediate areas to create windfall in your business. Now, we're going to talk about that. So hopefully there's no questions up until now. If there is, you know what to do. Get on the Facebook page, get on the email, get in touch with me. I'm here. I can't say that enough. So use me. Now, let's move on. Number 1 is mind your existing customers. Now, as you know, I have what I say to people, what do you do, Denise? Well, I help clients get and keep clients. And so what really irks me, and I've been a big fan of relationship marketing from the time I did my thesis on it back in 2000 for my master's. I did relationship marketing in the airline industry because I happened to be in that industry at the time. So I really love relationship marketing, and I think that it's so important for people to focus on the customers that they have, rather than constantly being on that hamster wheel of trying to get new customers all the time. And that's the reason why I kind of started with this. Number 1, with mind your existing customers. You can't become like a great marketer without driving focus and creating a never-ending back end of products and services. And by that I mean, like, well, I'll just give you an example of when I first started. When I first started, I did quite a lot of things, and then I kind of focused back in, I think some of you know my story, which you probably should spend some time talking about that. But anyway, I'll do that individually. Back in 2009, like I pretty much had no business. And so I focused on copywriting, and it was really just copywriting. And I thought, okay, well, that's it. So somebody does a project with me, grand job. Hopefully they'll come back to me if they've got a website created, or if they need blogs, or if they needed something else written. And then I still do an awful lot of award applications, for industry awards. And sometimes that was all that I did for people. And I just thought, okay, well, there has to be something else. Like, I have to be able to think what's next. And that's really what, so the copy critiques kind of came out of that. And I thought, okay, well, some people will write their own stuff, but then I can critique their copy and say, this is what needs to be done. So I started kind of thinking of other services to add to, or to offer to existing customers, because they're already bought in. And it's the same for you guys. Once you get, like, the purpose of the first sale is always to get the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and a lifetime. So it's important that you kind of get and keep customers for life. And that's really what I'm focused on now, and is helping people do that. And yes, you do need to kind of always need to think about what's next. So for the next 4 weeks, I want you to kind of think both of client attraction, which we probably will talk about quite a lot next week, and also the client retention. And so if you think about your client retention, I kind of want you to rate, like, what is your client retention rate at the moment? And for a lot of professional services, it is quite high, which is fantastic. It's also, like, it depends on your business model. Is it, like, on a project basis? Is it on a one-off basis? Is it on a, like, an annual basis? Is it on quarterly basis, monthly basis? So it will depend on that as well. So what you kind of need to think about is, well, if it's only on an annual basis, how can I make it a half-yearly basis? Or if it's only on every half-yearly basis, then how can I make it quarterly or monthly? So a lot of accountants that I work with, they're going down a model of, like, obviously some people do their accounts on an annual basis. They get the profit and loss. They kind of go, okay, well, this is much profit I made. Thanks very much. Sure, I'll see you next year. And so to get the better, again, with that mindset of thinking about, it's not you, it's about them. So accountants are like, well, listen, lads, it's not about, just coming to see me once a year. You need to come see me maybe once a quarter or once a half, because to make an informed decision on your accounts is so important. So they're trying to, like, think about, like, the back end of, like, what they can offer. So in addition to, like, the year-end accounts, what is it that they can offer? So I want you to kind of think about that. That's the first thing I want you to think about. And then the second thing I want you to think about is, like, how often do you communicate with your existing customers? And again, if you want to rate that on a 1 to 5 basis or a 1 to 10 basis, because a lot of times people don't do that. Like, I'll hold up my hands and say, you know what, you spend some time getting customers, and then don't even bother to send out an email, an email once a week, once a month, and because people forget about you. So even if you're on an annual basis, or it depends on as I said, on your business model, but sometimes people just kind of forget, and it's nothing to do with you, and it's nothing to do with anything. Like, if you think at the statistics, 67% of people leave a business, or, like, don't buy from a business anymore because of apathy. And it's because they perceive that they're not taken into account. And I'll give you an example. I used a PR company back when my book 31 Days came out, and they were fantastic at the time. Fantastic. And that was it. Job done. Here you go. Thanks very much. A couple of thousand. So then there was there has been no relationship between me and them over the last couple of years. And then I happened to meet one of the owners, and they were like, oh yeah, what's going on? Do you know where we are? And I kind of walked away from that thinking, you know what? Yes, I do know where you are. I know exactly where you are. So I'm thinking, you know what? I'm not important enough to them to go. I'm not important enough for to go back to them. They obviously are looking for, like, bigger clients than me. And that's what I thought when I kind of walked away. And I thought, you know what? I probably won't go back to them. Now, there's And that's probably just because of apathy. Now, so it could be a case of like that they do want my business. I mean, they're going to charge me anyway, so the same price maybe as like, big corporate rate. But you just have to think, okay, what are people, and I obviously tell my children all the time, don't worry about what other people think about you. But for this instance, when you're relying on your business, it's that you kind of have to think, well, what are they thinking about you? And if they're not thinking about you for a start, well, then that's bad. So you need to be top of mind all the time. So how often do you communicate with your existing customers? I want you to think about that. And I want you to think about how many different forms of media do you use to communicate with your existing customers. So is it that you pick up the phone and that you call your clients? Is it that you email them once a month, once a quarter, once a never land? Do you send a Christmas card? Do you send a birthday card? I want you to think of write down all the different ways, write down all the different types of ways that you contact your customers. Because if you write them down, you might actually be surprised. You might surprise yourself because you're going to go, oh God. When I do this exercise with clients, some people go, oh geez, I don't do any kind of contacts. But you know what, they'll always send something at Christmas, and they'll always send something at their birthday and things like that. So what you want to do then after that is jazz it up, because everybody kind of like sends stuff for Christmas and the birthday. But anyway, as long as you're doing that, so you could actually be pleasantly surprise yourself that you're doing so well, because this isn't a beat yourself up exercise. This is an exercise where it's just for awareness. And it's a case of like, okay, well, if I contact them, brilliant. If I don't, that's fine. And you just come up with an action plan. So it's not a beat yourself up exercise. It's an exercise that you think about what it is that you're doing. Does that make sense? Great. Now, you all know the 80-20 principle, and I'm sure that you can tell me the 80-20 principle probably more than I can tell you. But a lot of times when I sit down and I do those clients for live session, some people don't look at the 80-20, and they don't know who is more profitable. They don't know who's bringing in more sales. And then, I've got referral ability. That's not really what I meant in that one. I meant, what I meant in that one is like, what clients refer you the most? So you could actually like rate them on that way, because if there's always going to be a segment of your customer base who will probably only ever buy from you on an annual basis, if that's your model. But there's also going to be a portion of people who want more from you, and you're just probably not giving it to them. So if you give them a little bit more, then maybe top 5% of your customers could be financially 10 times more important to you than the rest. So it's important that you focus on the top 20 rather than the top 80. And I know we've all had clients who are just complete pains in the bums. Not to offend anybody, but that is the case. And we know it, that they take way more of our time than others. And so we need to get more of the others. And what I want you to think about is like, draw up a list of your clients and pretty much like rate them in terms of sales, profitability, and referability, not referral ability. But like, because that, or there could be other indicators that's specific for your business, how you rate a customer or a client. So let's actually think, and the worksheet that I have, I want you to go and I want you to take, I want you to take some time to look at and think about the different methods that you contact your client. Do you contact your client, rate yourself, and then maybe like if you want to draw up a list, and obviously that's a separate spreadsheet for yourself, like to see in terms of sales and profitability. But it's an interesting exercise to do, and I work with clients on a one-to-one basis to do that, and I just think that it's invaluable because sometimes you assume certain things in your business, and it's only by taking a few minutes out to do to do this exercise that you realize, okay, well, I am pretty good, and maybe this could be better. So have a look at that now. So you really do need to think about mining your existing customer base and protecting it. And because I always like to say that if you put a ring fence around your customers, well, then it makes it very hard for them to go anywhere else, because you want them to keep you there all the time. And what you also want them to do is that they will become like more or less like advocates for you, and it will help in terms of referrals, which is point number 2 that we're talking about today. I want you to implement a referral strategy, and I want you to have a referral strategy implemented by the end of this week, or definitely by the end of this Finishing Strong training program. And we can talk about that individually, because I think business models and individual companies and people to will kind of dictate that. But a lot of times people say, oh God, I can't really ask people for referrals, or so people do struggle with asking referrals. Some people don't. And I know, I don't know if you're members of the BNI, but the BNI, that's what it's all based on, is based on referrals, but it's like proper referrals, right? So if you have a referral system right now, then I want you to be able to describe it to me and then see if we can improve it. And if you don't have a referral system, I want you by the end of this 4 weeks to actually have a referral system. And one of the first questions that I always ask people is like, do you actually ask for referrals? Because as I said just 2 minutes ago, a lot of people don't. They are afraid to ask for referrals, and they just feel uncomfortable asking for referrals. And sometimes it's important, particularly at the outset, just a quick tip is actually setting expectations. Remember at the very beginning where I said it, it's like set it out at the very beginning, where that I'd like to get a testimonial from you at the end of the 4 weeks or the 5 weeks. So I'm like, putting that out there, like from you, that a testimonial. So you kind of nod, go, yeah, okay, then yeah. So when it comes to the end, when I ask for that testimonial, you'll say, oh yeah, because it was part of the program almost to give a testimonial. And it could be something similar, like, I work with a client, and one of their referral systems or one of their referral steps is that at the beginning they were like, okay, great, so happy to have you on board. So happy to have you on board as a client. Just to let you know that we do, we grow I'll get the text. We grow our business, but it goes something like this. We grow our business based on testimonial, based on referrals. If you're happy with the service that we provide you, if we're happy with the service, we would be delighted to, if you could refer somebody to us or something like that. So that's a text that they say at the very beginning of like their introductory emails or their introductory letters. And I think it's a good one because, again, it sets it out straight away that people, it sets it out straight away that what people, it sets the expectation out straight away. So then at the very end, then you will, at the very end of the project, sorry, I just got distracted. At the very end of the project, you will have set it in motion that you're asking for the referral, and you build a business based on referral. And if you're happy with the service, then you'd be delighted to refer us. So you're hoping at the end of the project or whatever it is, they are happy with the service that you've given them, and then referring just seems to be part of the package. As well as paying for the invoice, that referral is part of the package. So that's one way that you can add in, you could create for your referral system. Another one is just to say something like, I was wondering if I could get your help with something. Because if you ask, generally speaking, if you ask people for help, they are more likely to give it to you. Now, I know this because I've done my 31 day experiment for my TED Talk. But generally speaking, people like to help out because people are good. And so if you phrase it in such a way, it's like, listen, Helen, I was just wondering, I'd like to get your help with something. I'm looking to work with other accountants. Can you refer me to any accountants that you know? Simple as that. Because if you phrase it as help, then people go, oh, right, okay, well, I don't really know any accountants. Oh, I know a couple of accountants. Yeah, great, yeah. So phrase it that way. So that's two elements that you could put into your referral strategy. Another one is like, you could reward customers for referrals. Some people do, like, they could give like a €50 voucher, or if you refer 5 people, well, I'll give you 1 session or whatever, in terms of coaching. Coaches kind of do that one quite a lot. Then I want you to think about, do you incorporate multimedia in your referral process? And by that, I mean, what ways do you use referrals? So is it a case of like that you ask face-to-face? Is it that you ask email? Is it that you do a little video? Or what way is it that you send out a card? Some people give postcards and say, if you're talking to somebody and you think that they might need my service, here's a card. That's sometimes better when you're given a reward, because there's an incentive to sell somebody else's business. Same thing, something with the BNI. So that's even just like, 3 things I want to think about in terms of referrals. But what I really want you to think about is I want you to be really specific about who you want to talk to. I see a lot of my clients and I get a lot of emails, and at the bottom of the email they'll say, a referral is the nicest thing that you can do for me. Do you know what? That is just brilliant. That is not going to motivate that is not going to motivate anybody into taking action, because for a start, people don't read it, and even for the people that do, they go, okay, yeah, great, because people need to be directed. And in week 3 we will talk about that in terms of copy. People need to be directed, so there's no verb or there's no action item or action word in that sentence. So if you are one of those people that has a referral is the nicest thing that you can do for me at the bottom of your email, well, we need to change that, because you know what, it doesn't, people see you in one way, but you may not want a referral in that way. So you need to know, like, you know, okay, Helen, I'm looking to speak with an accountant who work with SMEs only. Do you know any? So there you kind of think, well, there's a specific one. So SME, because there's a lot of accountants out there who work with industries, or say the big 6 that would work with big multinationals. They're not the accountants that I'm interested in. I'm interested in the accountants who work with SMEs. So the more specific that you can get in terms of the referrals that you want, you will find that you will get better referrals for a start. Well, A, you'll get referrals, more referrals, and B, you'll get better referrals if you're a bit more specific about what you want, because that way then it's not like, and I'll use marketing as an example in case I'm not clear. There are so many different types of marketers that do you need a social media marketer? Do you need an online marketer? Do you need a digital marketer? Do you need a traditional marketer? Do you need a content marketer? So that's all just part of marketing. So as me as a marketer, I could say, well, I really like business. So it's not really going to work, because people don't know to ask you the kind of questions. Well, are you a content marketer, or are you a social media marketer, or all that? So you need to, if you're looking for the referral, you need to be specific and give them the information that makes it very easy for them to be able to refer. Does that make sense? Okay, great. Now, and then the last one, like the little system that I want to step in your system that I want you to think about, I want you to think about asking for 1 referral a day. Yes, I took an intake of breath myself when I was advised that some time ago, and I just thought, oh, really? But if you actually add it up, it's 5 a week, and that's about 250 a year. Can you imagine that meant of and okay, so some of them may not work out, but that's 200 referrals that you don't actually have to go out and look for. You just like talking to maybe your existing customers, your networking, your family network. And this is a great one, which that's a great one, which I didn't touch on in terms of the slide. A lot of people automatically think that when they're asking for referrals, they need to go to their business network, when it's, I think from my BNI days, it's assumed that people have like a network of 300 people around them. So if you ask your family members, so if you're specific enough to describe what it is that you do, then you can actually be specific enough to ask, for the specific referrals. A lot of specificity there. But, don't be afraid to ask for your family, your family for referrals, your friends for referrals, your business network, of course, and then your existing clients. So when you think about that network that you've got there, just right there, asking one person for 1 referral, it doesn't seem to be as daunting as it was when I said it 2 seconds ago. So that is one thing I'm going to get you to do when you write down your referral system, and I'm taking a little look at it, I want that to be on your referral program. Does that make sense? Good. Okay. Let's move on to number 3. Now, when I was planning this week's session, I kind of thought, what will I put into it? And again, I go back to this. You need to model your own success. All of us on the call here have set up our own business. And through trial and error, a lot of error on my part, and I'm sure there's been an error on your part too, you've won clients. And I want you to kind of go back and think about, how is it that you won those clients? How is it when you launch when you launch your business on a limited budget? That's an assumption. Okay, I'll admit that. How did you get clients? And so oftentimes so many times we kind of think that, okay, well, that was back then, and I've moved along so much further now that it may not be applicable. But You know what? It probably is applicable. When I say probably, I don't mean to say probably. It is applicable. So it may not be a case that you are going out to say, let's assume that you grew your business through networking at the very beginning. It may not be appropriate, or you don't have time to do all that networking that you used to do. But if you got customers through networking at the very beginning, then you need to either get somebody else to do the networking for you, or you are highly targeted at the networking events that you go to. Because if you've gotten customers through networking, it's a system that works and you need to do it. Same thing with advertising. If you advertise in a trade magazine and it worked at the beginning, then you need to keep putting those same ads back in and in and in. So sometimes people say, oh, I can't really do that because I'll be seen to go backwards. And I always kind of send a chuckle at that one, because you know what? It's not about what other people think. It's about business. It's about getting customers. And so if your competitor up the road sees an ad for you in the local trade magazine and thinks, oh, they're not doing very well, because they're back advertising in the trade journal. Do you know what? If it's getting you business, then there's nothing wrong with that. And the problem, and the funny thing is that, like, you know, because they're not advertising in it, that means that A, you get a heads up, but B, you're kind of knowing, you know how you started, how it worked, why it's working. And so therefore you've got an edge over them. So anybody who laughs, or you think that's going to laugh at you for doing something that may not be applicable for your business right at the stage that you're at, then that's their problem, and they're not seeing the big picture and you are, and that's where you get the advantage. So I want you to think about, you know, what offers you made at the time. What did you say back then? And like, I mean, I know a lot of it would have been that you've just started out and people kind of trusted you, but you know what, people had to, when you didn't have any credibility in your business in terms of an entrepreneur, what is it that you said? Because you obviously were in your business, you did what you did, even though I know right now you're not a doer of your trade, but as a doer of your trade, whether it was in corporate, multinational, other businesses, a small business or something, what you did, you had clients in that, but when you made that leap for yourself, what is it that you said to people for them to trust you? Because I know when I first started, yes, I had the corporate background. Yes, I had multinational experience. But, you know, I had no experience of small businesses. And I have to be honest and say, I just laugh now when I think back about what it is. But you know what was really one of the things that sold me? My confidence that I knew marketing. And then somewhere along the line, I think when I had maybe baby number 1 or 2, the confidence wasn't as present then. I kind of started doubting myself, doubting everything, and that would probably come across. That would have come across, obviously, to people. And so when I said I will do this course with you, so when I was looking at this, I've already got one step ahead of you guys. So when I was looking at modeling your own success, I thought, okay, well, I need to take a step back and actually see, okay, what is it that I did, that I said, that I offered? And like, yeah, okay, it is different because it was an outsourced marketing service that I offered back then. Still outsourced marketing now, but definitely the confidence that I had in myself and in my ability was one of the things that people bought from me. So again, that's what you need to think about here. So, and then you need to be able to model that same level of offers and words and whatever you did, methods. So I want you to take a few minutes over the next week to think about that. And as I said, you may not do it now yourself if it's a networking thing, say for example, but maybe somebody in your team could do that, or you could actually just kind of find another way. Because if you've achieved in this, you've achieved something, then you can easily achieve it again and again and again and again. So it's something not to be ignored. Okay, so that's one that probably more a mindset one as well that I want you to think about, but definitely one that you need to think about. And action. Now, I didn't want to wait until week 3 to talk about content and copy. So I want you to think about these ones. What are your benefits? Is your key marketing and sales message, i.e. the front page of your website, the beginning of all letters and emails, a benefit-focused message, or does it describe the features of what you're offering? And can you and your team, if you have one, clearly articulate the top 3 benefits that your product and service offers? Now, obviously, at week 3, we will delve deeper into this, but I didn't want to wait until week 3 to say that, because I want you to go and look at your homepage that is an action item. I want you to look at your homepage and I want you to say, okay, is it benefits or is it features? And again, it's something that we could look at when we talk individually, particularly the Clients for Life section. But is it benefits led? Is it benefits led or is it features led? Now, we will, as I said, delve into deep too. So I don't want to go too much because I know that males prefer features and females prefer benefits. So you do need to have both. But what you really need to have mostly is you need to have benefits. What it is. And remember, it's all about them. It's not about you. So what is it that you do that helps your customers? And we'll talk about, like, what we'll talk about it in week 3 about what it is that you do differently than somebody else. But for now, what is it that you do? So I want you to be very clear, and I want you to look at your homepage, and maybe if you have an introductory letter or something that you do, ask yourself and rate yourself: is it benefit laden or is it features laden? So do not wait. We won't wait until week 3, but it's so important. So what is the top 3 benefits that your product or service offers? And it should be, even if it's something like quality. Quality is such an overused word, but I get that all the time with quality or customer service. So even if it's customer service, we'll expand on that over the next 4 weeks, but put down, like, what it is that your top 3 benefits are. Look, it could even be location. Like, so location could be as a benefit. It's also a feature, but it could be a benefit. So some things we overlook. It could be your credibility. It could be, so start listing down benefits. And sometimes, particularly the Irish, and I'm going to say the UK as well, we tend to be humble and we don't focus on the benefits. We kind of focus on the features. That's why it's easier to focus on the features than the benefits. So actually start thinking about the benefits of your service. And so I want you to take like 10 minutes to look at that, and you can write it down, jot it down in the worksheet. Now, number 5, I am conscious that we're actually nearly at the top of the hour. Number 5, irresistible offers. Now, you have 4 weeks. Well, it's actually 5 weeks. What irresistible offer could you offer to your existing customers, customers who have stopped buying from you, and prospective and customers and leads? I can advise you as you move along, but I want you to think about it. Like, is there a bonus that you can offer? Now, when I put out the offer for the Finish Strong, that connected with some people for a reason. But I know only one person has come to me and told me that they bought because of the Clients for Life session, which was great. But that means, like, that bonus is practically going to be worth more, could be worth more than the actual training program at the moment, because it's one-to-one interaction. Well, this is all into one direction, but what bonus can you offer that could maybe be worth more than the irresistible offer? And that could be the irresistible offer. So you could put something out there and then an irresistible offer to get people to buy. So you've got 4 weeks now, and you may seem like that you're going to, like, you break the bank. And look, when it comes to week 3, we can think about, like, crafting a message. We could talk about crafting a message, and we could talk about crafting a message. Why is it when you're doing, like, recording that somebody hops on the phone? Sorry about that. No, let me. And the iPad is right beside me, and so you probably can hear that as well. Let me just, gosh, I feel really terrible about that now, but let me just do this. No, so sorry about that. No. So we'll talk about in week 3, we'll talk about crafting it or making it compelling, right, in terms of the words, so that you will feel like authentic, offering an irresistible offer, because it could be leading into next year. So we'll talk about, like, so maybe it's, I do not think about discounting a service. You could offer something like what I'm doing with you, a beta type service, where that means then it's affordable, and you could say it'll never be this price ever again, and then have the fast action bonus then on the bottom of it. So that's the irresistible offer. But I want you to start thinking about something, if it's not between now and Christmas, to offer something. If it's not between now and Christmas, then what offer can you give somebody just, like, as I said, hitting the ground running in January, that people will go, you know what, that makes complete sense to me. And that's why I've broken it down to the 3 people. those three people is that, okay, well, what can you give to your existing customers? Because again, that goes back to like, you know, mining the gold mine that you have in terms of your customers, and not like, you know, keeping them for granted. Because you know what's real bugbear of mine is that when you're here on the radio, electricity, you know, an electricity or a utilities ad going, oh, you know what, new customers get 25% off. And you're like, I've been with you for like 20 years and I'm not getting 25% off. That really like bothers me. And I suppose that's because it bothers me because of my customer retention. You know, I really believe in customer retention. And so when you think about that, you need to offer something to your customers. And that's why you need to kind of think about the customers who have stopped buying from you. So it could be a case that, again, they've kind of forgotten about you, or maybe they didn't need the services, but you can kind of awaken a desire in them. Sounds a bit, ooh, but it could be something that, okay, well, what would make them come back to you? And it's a simple, you know what, you could just put it up front and say, well, we have this, we've missed you, we've got this wonderful offer. I don't know if you know that we now do this service. And again, we can craft it, but think about what you could offer them. And also the prospective customers and leads that you have talked to this year that have never come back, like they have never bought. And the next slide is follow-up, I believe. But this is what I want you to think about. I want you to go back and be able to craft an offer to the people who haven't bought. Because you know what? Some people didn't buy from you this year through all sorts of reasons. They got busy. Somebody could have gotten injured in their family, could have gotten sick in their family. There's all types of reasons. And so you need to be able to go back and say to them, we haven't heard from you in a while, or we'll be delighted to catch up again. Do you know what, we've got this really wonderful offer. And I'm not saying that you discount anything. So it could be like, you know, you offer something and something extra as an additional one. Or it could be a discount, whatever suits your business, and we can talk about that. But you need to think about an irresistible offer that will actually really bring people back. And as I said, what bonus could you offer even more than the original offer? So this is something that you can do in the next 4 weeks when you create an offer and put it out there. Because you're going to be talking about the messaging. We're going to talk about media and marketing communication methods now next week. So you'll know exactly how to push it out. So once you have your offer crafted, then you can push it out and there is no excuse. Okay, so think about the irresistible offer. I can only advise you on the irresistible offer. So when you kind of think about it, I would really gladly help you on it, but I can't tell you what offer to create. That's why I'm just saying that you need to create one. And then I wanted to talk about follow-up. I've just kind of touched on it there. Like, when is it that you give up? Now, I know like there's all this kind of like statistics on the internet and, you know, sales programs. I'm sure you've all been through it. But you know who does, like, you know, the key is never to give up. And really that's why it's important to have like somebody's email address or somebody's phone number or somebody's postal address, so that you can always be sending messages back. Remember at the very beginning we talked about your existing customers, like who do you send something to? What customers do you send something to? Well, they actually have purchased from you. So it's a bit different when it comes to follow-up and leads. Like if you have put in a proposal, gone to that stage of putting in a proposal, you know that person was interested. And I do say, like, in the absence of any other qualities, price is always a determinant. So we need to kind of like get you that it's not just price, okay? But there could have been other reasons. And so it could be, like, as I said, follow up. Maybe they just got busy and then you didn't follow up enough. Like I have, maybe because I'm in marketing, I do watch people who have approached me for services. And when they, like, you know, if they don't follow up on me, if they don't follow up with me, then I'm thinking, you know what, they don't really want my business. And they probably do, but they're afraid to follow up. But at the same time, you know, that's not going to get them any business. So don't be afraid. You're never going to, people will actually just hang up or they won't get through to you. But you don't have to be a nuisance or a stalker. You don't have to call up, like, you know, every Friday in the beginning and you know, the initial stages. So I want you to tell me and honestly and rate your follow-up process. Is it that you follow up 3 times? Is it that you follow up 7 times? Is it that you follow up 20 times? Like I put down here on the slide here, it's 7 points of contact. Like traditionally, and you probably would have heard it, that it takes 7 times for somebody to see you before they pick up the phone. And that's only to pick up the phone. That's not even to answer your proposal or arrange a time to sit down and meet you. Now, look, it does look like that it's turning out to be 28 points. So because of the distraction with the social media and all that kind of stuff. So you could turn that. So that's even just to like, see you. So now it's a case of, well, how many points of contact do you have once you say meet somebody for the first time? And 28 points seems a bit excessive, to be fair. But if you add it up, that you kind of like say something on social media, you do something on email, you do a phone call, you do another phone call, you do a postcard, and then you do something else. So that's, say, 5 bits, but then you just repeat those 5 maybe next month, and then you keep sending them the email addresses, or you keep sending them something on social media. So you're not becoming a stalker. And we'll talk about the follow-up process again, and we could do it individually, because it's follow-up. I found working with professional services is personal to people, and so I get that, and I get that you don't want to be something that you're not, i.e. stalker. Nobody wants to be a stalker, right? So I get that, but at the same time you still need to be following up. And on the follow-up, I just want to say that it's kind of somewhat connected, but I had somebody on my email list for 8 years. 8 years. And I'm very confident, because when it comes to my email list, could send out my email list, and for a long time I would have gotten business from it. It was brilliant, worked out really well. But this person's on my contact list for 8 years, and so then when she had a copywriting need, she knew exactly who to contact, because I was sending out emails once a month. Now that blows me away, and I think that contract will be worth about $3,000, something like that. And amazing stuff. So you think that, you know what, because I could have dropped her off on my list ages ago, but I didn't. So she kept opening the emails, didn't hear from her, but okay, grand. So one day when she needed copywriting services, she knew who to contact. So that's one point of contact that you kind of need to, and that's only like, say, that would be like, somebody that I met at a networking event, got their email address, had a conversation, job done. So don't be afraid to follow up even after 8 years. And so when I say follow up, that would be follow up. Okay. So sometimes when I say follow up, it's not a stalking process. It's like, okay, how do you keep your name top of mind in somebody else's mind? So that's what really follow up is. So maybe it's time to like rephrase or reframe follow up in terms of rephrase follow up in terms of how you see it. So I want to think about like what your follow-up plan is right now, and be honest. Look, as I said, this is not a beat-up exercise. And if you have a great follow-up plan, brilliant. Let's see how we can improve it. But if you don't have one, let's actually create one for you, so that we can not feel, so that you're not a stalker, but that you can, after 8 years, get a piece of business. So that's the follow-up. And then the last one, number 7, is Chatterbox. Now, Chatterbox is a very simple system, and you can do it from the minute you hang up on stop listening to this recording. It's to literally talk to everybody and anybody about business. Not about business, anybody. So you just chat to somebody, you're at a dinner party. So what is it that you do? Boom. Because then they'll say, well, actually, I'm an accountant or whatever. And sometimes, like, okay, people are people, right? So you'll always get people who love talking about themselves, and they may never ask you what you do, but generally times people do return the favor, and they will ask you what it is that you do. And so then you will return with your benefit laden statement of, I'm a marketer who helps clients get and keep clients. Oh, right, tell me more. So then you can actually talk about that, or things like that. So it's a very simple process. So what is it that you do? So, okay, so some people may never, be interested in you, but again, you've started somebody being aware of who you are, what you do, and it's all practice. So when the ideal client comes along and says what it is that they do, you go, you know what, I actually have a service that's perfect for you, because again, remember, it's all about them, it's not about you. And so if you chatterbox all the time, then you are going to get business. And it's a very simple process, and and I was kind of thinking, will I put it in or will I not put it in? But you know what, on the training program that I'm on this year-long mentorship program, I know of people who just do, excuse me, let me just take a little drink, who do this chatterbox process and have 100,000, have a business worth $100,000. just by chatterboxing. Just that's one, like, that's how they can guarantee and they can trace all their money back through chatterboxing. Now that is mental. So that's what I want you to do from like when you start hanging up, when you stop listening to the recording, just talk to people. So what is it that you do? You can do it a little bit more. Force is not the right word, but I'll use it for now. On social media chats, you could say like, hey, I'm curious, what type of life assurance have you got? And you could preface it with, I'm doing a little bit of research. And so you can say, I'm curious because, well, actually, I'm curious because I'm doing a survey on whether people have life assurance or not. And so then you could get into a conversation generally with people that you know. So you could do it like, you could do it with your Facebook groups or your network, your LinkedIn contacts, Instagram contacts. It depends on who you want to do it with. As I said, some people feel that it's kind of forced. I have started doing this myself. I did think it was forced at the beginning, but actually it's introducing lots of different conversations. So from that reason, I would recommend it. That's why I put down here in terms of the social media side of things, definitely the first bit of like, so what do you do? Because so many of us are great at what we do, and we know that people need our services, but yet somewhere along the line in a big conversation, you kind of forget to say like, what it is that you do. And you're doing it in a non-salesy way, for want of a better description. So by asking people what they do, you're giving them the ability to talk about themselves. And what's a person's favorite topic? Well, it's all about themselves, right? So then people say, geez, that person is really good because that's a great person. So even if you let somebody talk about themselves and don't get a chance to say, well, what you do, well, actually, I'm a marketer that works with professional services. A lot of times people walk away and go, geez, they're great, aren't they? Geez, they're really good. So they go away thinking of you in a good light. And if you've somehow managed to maybe get an email address or arrange to have a call or something like that, well, then that's magic. But because the more people that you talk to, the easier it becomes and the more practiced you become in interjecting into the conversation, as well as to like what it is that you do. Oh, because you'd say, so you're in construction. Oh, wow, that's really interesting, because you know what I do? Actually, I've got one of my biggest products that I sell is insurance for construction workers. Yeah, because there's a lot, like 85% of people fall on construction sites. Isn't that mad? So then so the more you practice this, the more you can kind of interject, and exactly when you can say something about what it is that you do in a non-salesy way. So I want you to start chatterboxing. Literally ask people, so what it is that you do. And I've got a sheet that you can actually contact, or that you can drop down, and you can tell me how many people that you've chatterboxed with on a weekly basis. Okay? I think it's so important. It's so simple, but it's so important, and so many people don't do it. So even as a marketing technique, because they're busy now. So your competitors right now are busy on social media, chatting to themselves, to be fair, right? Whereas you're chatting to actually real people, whether it is on the social media, but you're still chatting to somebody on social media. You're chatting one-to-one with somebody, rather than blast emailing a meme or a quote or this is what we do. So remember, people buy from people, and they buy from people that they like. So you need to be able to find the people to talk to. And so start chatterboxing. Okay, it's a great technique. And then I think I've talked for a bit too long, probably. So hopefully now, just to kind of recap, take a look at the attached worksheet and fill that all in. Like we have talked about clients. Clients are so important. Okay, like they... you need to kind of say, okay, how many points of contact do you talk to them, and how you don't take them for granted. We talked about referrals. One simple one, like, ask a referral a day. We looked at your past success and how you got business from the beginning, because the worst number in marketing is always number one, is one. So one marketing method, one message, one of everything, one. But you would have gotten business at the beginning using probably only one method. And so that's the first one that we'll go back to. That's the first one that worked, and then we'll add on other ones. What is the benefit of your product or service? What is it? Just keep it simple actually for that one. Okay, what's the benefit? Oh, there's a typo, sorry. Let's think about your irresistible offers. What are your offers that you can offer to particularly leads that you talk to this year, and also customers who haven't bought from you in a long time. So try to get them back on board. And of course, if you can come up with an irresistible offer for a client or client who's already purchased from you, excellent. But if you can think about irresistible offers for those, then you're well on the way to getting, it depends, I suppose, on your business model, remember. So between getting extra sales between now and December, or hitting the ground running in January. Follow up. We need to think about your follow up process. And you know what? I didn't mention it, and I was reading through the notes. I want you to think, if there's somebody that you talked to in the past month, I want you to follow up with them. If there's 2 people that you talked to in the last month, I want you to follow up with them. If there's 3 people in the last month, I want you to follow up with them. So follow up with the people that you have talked to within the last 30 days. And then I want you to start chatterboxing. Once you start chatterboxing, I think it will be absolutely marvelous. You'll practice yourself in actually speaking about your business. And I'm not saying that you don't have confidence in that. We haven't had our individual conversations yet, but it'll just actually be a good thing to do. Okay. So start trying that. All this will be all uploaded onto the website. You will have access to that. It'll be uploaded onto the Facebook page. I hope now the speed and the information has been all good. So give me feedback if it's been too little. Give me feedback if it's been too much. As we work through it now over the next 5 weeks. And if there's any of these elements that you'd like to delve deeper into, we can easily hold them back, and we could talk about them in week 5 as well. So that's what week 5 is there also for. So don't be a stranger. I appreciate and welcome your feedback. So I look forward to hearing all your aha moments, and that's it. So over for another week, for the first week, let's get this going and let's finish strong. Okay, take care. Bye.